Fighting for freedom, liberty, and the restoration of the Constitution. The Patrick Riggins Show. Call in now at 865-243-8255. That's 243-TALK. And now your host, Patrick Riggins.
And welcome back to the Patrick Riggins Show here on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network.
I'm keeping you on your toes.
Tori does keep me on my toes.
On your toes
keeps me
with my
thinking.
mistakes.
Yeah, but see, no one knows it's a mistake unless
just said that.
Until you say, "Hey, that song wasn't cued."
I own up to my mistake. Yeah. I own up to what I did.
Well, that's the thing. If you admit to them and then learn from them, you're fine.
I just say nothing about learning. I just admit.
Just admit
step
it.
by step, baby steps.
Well, we're making that's the key. Is take little baby steps. All right, this week I want to talk about something that everyone will tell you not to discuss, and that is religion and politics. Although we talk a lot about politics on here, of course, it's a political show. But the reason I want to talk about these two things is because lately I have heard more and more conservatives spouting off about them, how our country is falling apart, how morals are absent in today's culture. Liberals don't really mix religion and politics. Well, not organized religion anyway. They may worship something other than a deity, like the environment or science or, heck, even themselves or other humans. But for the purposes of this segment, we'll concentrate on organized religion. So many times, and especially here lately, I don't know if I'm just starting to notice it more or if it's actually being brought up more frequently on conservative radio and television programs. I tend to think it's the latter because we have a Democrat in the office of president. And when we have a Democrat in that office, all of a sudden, all the conservatives get God. You don't hear much about him when their guy or gal is in the office, but when they're out of power, at least as far as the presidency is concerned, when the Republicans are out of power, they start preaching like every day Sunday. What I want to point out and make you aware of is religion and politics are two totally different things. A political system has nothing to do with religion, and vice versa. You can have a religion without any sort of political system. A lot of conservatives, and I would include the major leaders of the movement, those big guns on talk radio and television, and those prominent people in Congress as well. A lot of these conservatives want to use religion as some sort of club to beat you over the head and get you to do what they think you should be doing, supporting what they think you should be supporting. Now, the reason conservatives do this is because they are, in essence, big government people. Just like the Democrats, or most of the Democrats and liberals, they castigate week after week. The only difference is the conservatives can't say they're big government people because they are constantly making the argument for smaller and more limited government. That's their bread and butter. But when you look at what they do, they want to tell other people what to do just like the liberals. They just use religion instead of government to bully people into acting how they think they should act. For instance, don't try to get government out of marriage because God will send this country to hell if you do. And don't try to get the government out of medicine because old people and poor children will die and God commands you to care for them. And don't take God off our money because this is a Christian country and God will send us all to hell for doing that. Every single one of us. Because we stood by and let our government not acknowledge God on our currency. Now, I'm not a Bible scholar, but I'm pretty sure I don't remember Jesus demanding his name be put on the Romans' currency. Nor did he demand that they put his name above the doorways of government buildings. Do you think it might be, and I'm going out on a limb here, but do you think it might be because God wants a personal relationship with you, not your government, not your money? Do you really think the being who created this entire universe, if you're to believe the Bible, this being who created everything you see around you, really cares about having his name on anything we build, anything we make? Or do you think he would rather you proclaim these things yourself? Have the guts to stand up for him instead of trying to go in the societal back door and not have to stand up and be counted. I can just see it up at the pearly gates. Well, you see, sir, I fought to have your name put on our money. I voted for that. I voted to keep under God in the Pledge of Allegiance. I voted for all of those things, just like a good Christian should. And, of course, then God will say, hey, did you forgive your brother for stealing that car that time? Did you forgive your sister for making that snide remark to your wife at the family reunion? When that person at work needed to hear about me, did you have the guts to tell him you were a Christian and invite them to church? Or did you even just invite them over to your house for a meal? Did you live a life that inspired others? Or did you gossip? Were you nosy? Did you try to mind everyone else's business instead of keeping your life straight? Did you constantly try to tear down other people and their accomplishments? I think once you realize how insignificant a lot of these little outward, shallow expressions of piety are, then you're just one step closer to becoming a better person. You start realizing the difference between religion and politics. Religion is morals. Politics is about respecting an individual's freedom and liberty. You can be immoral and still be free. You can be living under tyranny and still be moral. One doesn't necessarily affect the other. Religion didn't make this country great. There have been numerous examples of religious countries in the world that haven't achieved half of what we've achieved. Even Christian countries that haven't made the accomplishments we have made. So, what was it? Well, what do we have that other countries didn't? Well, it's freedom. Freedom to do as we wished. Freedom to start a business. Freedom to live how we wanted to live. Freedom is what made this country great. What's on the Statue of Liberty's tablet in her hand? It's the date of the Declaration of Independence. It's freedom. What's on the bronze tablet at the base? I think it's been moved inside now, but it says, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free." Freedom. That's what made this country great. Freedom and liberty, really two sides of the same coin. Freedom is what makes this country great. And the reason why this country is having problems is because we are restricting what made it great. Freedom. If tyranny, if a police state is what makes a country successful, then the U.S.S.R. should still be in business and thriving. East Germany should be the Taiwan of the world. But they aren't. So why are we constantly trying to emulate them? Why don't we learn from their mistakes? Speaking of government control, for a prime example of this hypocrisy by conservatives, look what happened when the Obama administration floated the idea about privatizing TVA. With all the howling and screaming from both sides of the aisle, you'd think he had suggested we tear down the Statue of Liberty. Now, the liberals and the Democrats, okay, I get their argument. But the Republicans and conservatives, they're being hypocrites. Should we privatize garbage pickup? Oh, sure, yeah. Competition's good. Free market, yeah, we love that. Yeah, good idea there. How about some of the other government services that are none of the government's business to be doing? Yeah, let's get rid of those too. Those little things here and there, okay, yeah, that's good. Okay, well, let's dump TVA because it isn't the government's business to be doing. Certainly not stipulated by the Constitution. Whoa, hold on, Patrick. Now, that's a bad idea. We don't want to do that. The electricity rates will rise. Well, isn't that the idea of the free market? Electricity rates would reflect the true value of the product. No. See, if it's something they want, then it's okay for the government to be doing, even if it's not in the Constitution. In fact, you can just ask Republican Marco Rubio, and we've played this before.
Now, I believe in federal financial aid. I couldn't have gone to college without it.
So, loaning money to Mr. Rubio for his education is something the taxpayer of this country should be doing because it benefits him.
One of these programs is Medicare. It's especially important to me. It provided my father the care he needed to battle cancer and ultimately to die with dignity. And it pays for the care my mother receives right now.
So apparently taking money from taxpayers of this country to pay for Mr. Rubio's parents' medical care, that's something this country should be doing as well. because it will benefit his parents. And I guess him too, because it gets him off the hook as far as caring for his parents is concerned. I've played those clips before on this show, and I'm not just picking on Marco Rubio. His fellow Republicans have made similar stands. We need to cut government, unless it's something I want. Well, then we can't cut that. Here are two clips from Ronald Reagan's inaugural speech in 1981. I've played these before on the show as well. But for the benefit of the constantly growing base of new listeners, I'm going to do it again.
In this present crisis, government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. From time to time, we've been tempted to believe that society has become too complex to be managed by self-rule, that government by an elite group is superior to government for, by, and of the people. Well, if no one among us is capable of governing himself, then who among us has the capacity to govern someone else? It is no coincidence that our present troubles parallel and are proportionate to the intervention and intrusion in our lives that result from unnecessary and excessive growth of government.
Now, Mr. Reagan recognized even back then government was out of control, and it is even more so today. In 1981, when he gave that speech, the spending on the federal budget was right under $3,000 per person. The gross federal debt was at $4,300 per person. In 2013, this next year, federal spending will have risen to $11,600 per person. And the gross federal debt is going to be at $54,000. $54,440 is the number per person. So the debt has jumped over $50,000 per person in this country. And the people in Washington want to say we don't have a spending problem. All right, we're up on the half-hour break here on the Patrick Reagan Show already. Yeah, looking out, watching it rain. Oh, it's awful outside. Good thing you're inside listening to me. All right, when we come back, we'll talk about that White House Correspondents' Dinner, and we'll talk a little bit about Syria and whatever else comes up here on the Patrick Reagan Show on the Libertarian Lighthouse Radio Network. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
To us.